Hello, hello. I've got a special guest on the show today from across the pond in the UK. He is a life transformation and golf mindset coach. He provides one-on-one coaching programs to help achieve your personal goals. He also runs a very successful podcast called The Positive Golf Mindset. I will include links in the show notes as well. So please welcome Matt Stilwell to the program. Matt, thanks so much for being a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, my absolute pleasure. And we talked about this before we started recording, that we have tried to get this in the diary, but our schedules haven't quite joined up. So I'm delighted we've been able to do it today.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks so much again. And I'm going to start you off with a toughie. So please describe what you do and why you do it.
Okay. So why do I do? Okay, let me start with the what. I like to go why first normally, but let me just explain first of all. So I help people from all walks of life, not just golf, all walks of life. It was a place I started when I was working in the world of bidding, believe it or not. So helping companies to bid for large scale contracts, bid big works all over the world. And part of that process meant that I had to get in with a client, talk to a client, and slowly but surely, over years and years of doing this, you realize that you're actually coaching your client in some way. You're asking them open questions. You're trying to get to the bottom of their issues, of their problems, their challenges. And that was a path that I got very interested in and took courses, and I'm a certified ICF coach, and really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that process of knowing that someone on the end of the line, or the person I'm talking to, actually has those answers in their wheelhouse, and all I'm doing is unpicking and unlocking to get those answers out. And so that was the work side of things. I'm also, as you are, an avid golfer, have been all my life. And the two things just joined up beautifully. I noticed quite quickly, helping people outside of my circle of friends, for example. Once I started to expand that bubble, you start to see that the issues and the challenges that me and my family and my friends are having on the golf course is something that everybody has, and it's not unique to me. And it became a thing of wanting to help people to just be a bit happier on the course. That was the first place I started, because I saw lots and lots of people spending their Saturdays. We're recording this on a Saturday. I played this morning, and it was extremely up and down. So I'm preaching, don't get me wrong, but it's very difficult to put into practice. I'm well aware of that. And so I realized that people were taking their problems home. They were taking their challenges home. They were being a little bit difficult to live with sometimes, and that's no good. This is supposed to be a sport and a pastime that we all love. So if I could help someone to take on the game from a bit more of a happier standpoint, in the first and foremost, that tended to improve their game as well as their home life. And then the more you dig into it, you could start to actually improve performance through that process. So you could start to get them to think a little quicker in the moment. You could start them to ask themselves the right kinds of questions in the moment, rather than just beating themselves up from a point of anger, normally a point of fear. Normally they don't want to look like idiots in front of their friends that they're playing with. That's normally where it starts from. So the quicker you can get them to realize that it's just a game, the better. So that was a really long-winded open
No,
answer,
that's
but
perfect.
the rough trajectory of what I've done and what I'm doing is like that.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's actually a good segue into my next question. How's your golf game, both scoring and mental? And do you have any specific handicap goals that you're driving towards?
Yeah, lovely question. Yes. So you may well know, if you've listened to any of my podcasts and followed my journey, that I do like to keep track of things like stats. I do like to have an understanding and an awareness of where I am in my own development. And I think that stats are a really simple, easy way of doing that. So golf is a game built on stats and numbers, but it's also a game on subjective matter as well. You know, how you putted on the greens doesn't always translate. You may have putted really well, but the ball just hasn't gone down. So there is a bit of a difference there. But I do like to keep stats, and I do like to know where I am. So right now, I'm not playing enough. That is my argument at the moment. So today is a great example. Today was a cup match in our club. I played all right in my free ball, for example. I won in my free ball, which is fine. That's okay. That's a good starting point to think, okay, well, how well am I doing in the club? I'm probably going to be. I'll certainly be top 10 today. The score isn't good enough to win it, so that's a bit disappointing because I do want to win it. I do want to go in and win it, but I never put that much pressure on myself to go and win it. And I'm sitting here now perfectly happy that I haven't, but with a little tinge of disappointment, specifically on 2 holes. So drove the ball really well today. I played last week and wasn't driving the ball very well, so that was lovely. That was really, really nice. I took 5% off my swing as a golfer. I think you might be able to relate to that. We sometimes we get over the ball and we're quick, and we're anxious, and we want to get the ball down the fairway. Whereas I find if I just take 5% off it, just a tiny bit, I tend to get the club a little squarer, tends to hit the ball a little straighter, keep the ball in play. So I was doing that, and then out of the blue, and it really, I birdied 2, got a few pars, didn't get enough pars, didn't get enough up and downs today. I'm quite, I like getting up and downs. That's my scrambling mode. I like that. I'm getting better at that. But there were 2 holes today, and I'll relive them for you. It was, I hit one slightly left. It just turned over in my hands, and it was going towards out of bounds. It hit the tree within out of bounds, came back into the rough. So, okay, I've saved one there. So now what we should do is take the medicine, come out sideways, which I did. And then my next thought was, okay, the approach shot into the green, there's a big bunker on the right. That is the place to avoid. There's a lot of space out left. We're going to go left. And that was my thought process. And why I'm saying it is because sometimes it just doesn't work. And I stood over the ball and I hit it right. So it landed in the bunker. Got out of the bunker fine, but then the putting didn't work. Anyway, next hole, drove the ball. This time I aimed slightly right because I didn't want to hook it left, and it carried on straight right. Couldn't find it. My provisional went into a red stake, so I had to drop out the red stake, hit it back down. So I've now got basically two card destroying holes, and so I stood on. I was aware that we were going to do this afternoon, funnily enough. The thought came into my head in that moment on the green. I putted out, walked off to the next tee box. I was proud that I wasn't angry. I wasn't annoyed. I was disappointed. But I was looking back, and that was the problem. So I checked myself. I said, okay, that's done. We can't do anything about that. Even thoughts of winning have now escaped from your mind, which is still not a good thing to think. And so I'm illustrating for your listeners that the idea of mindset is not an easy thing to get right. You can do it every day, and you still need a reminder. You still need to just check yourself, because what I did in that moment was reminding myself that, okay, well, the next shot is the most important. So the next shot was great. I absolutely drilled it down the middle. It was all great. Hit a 7-iron into the green, 2-putt, 4, walk off. So that was great. And I was very proud of having 2 really bad holes back to back and then wiping that slate clean and moving on. So that was a good thing. And to answer your handicap question, yes, I have goals. I'm probably not where I want to be. I want to be down at 5. The idea this year was the ultimate goal is to get to 5. I'm not there yet. This year, the plan was to get to 7. I'm currently sitting on 8 and a bit. And I think I can do it. I think the game is there, but like a lot of things, when you get down to this kind of handicap, you do need to scramble well, you do need to score well, and you need to stay in the game. You need to stay in it. So yes, that's where I am.
Right. So are you using those stats to help inform what you practice to get from the 8 to the 5?
Yes. 100%.
Okay.
And that's a really important element. Thank you for bringing that up. The stats for me are just they give me a view of the playing field. They give me a view of the dynamic of the whole game. So, like I say, I could come off having putted quite well, but the numbers don't match. Okay, the numbers don't show that. The numbers show that my putting numbers were up, whereas I felt like I putted okay. So, what does that mean? Does that mean that actually I'm leaving myself 30 or 40-foot putts for birdie? That's no good. Pros don't want to be doing that. That's there aren't many pros out there that are making anything more than 10% of their 30-foot putts. So the question then is, okay, well, do I need to be working on my wedge play? And that is exactly where it's at. And as soon as you start working on your wedges, as soon as you start working on your chips and your pitches, your confidence level rises, because all of a sudden you're putting chips to 3 foot or 4 foot. Now that is a much tastier way to play golf than leaving yourself 15, 20-foot putts for par. So
Yeah.
the stats have enabled that. We could all go down the driving range and just smash a bucket of balls. That's pretty fun. But actually, I have found that I find the short game far more fun now. And when you play and you have this fizzing feeling of up and down, get that in your blood, get that in your taste buds, really feel it. And I know
Yeah.
you get it because you're a very good golfer. But for anybody listening who wants to get their handicap down, work on that scrambling, work on those the chipping
Yeah.
and putting, the pitching and putting.
Yeah, for
Vital.
sure. For me, I started the season at a 5. I think I'm closer to a 4. I'm trying to get to scratch,
Great.
as you know, from my
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
title. And I've never been scratch or even close to scratch. So, and I'm getting older. So like I have a
Great.
lot of factors working against me. But like you, I started using the Decade app and it absolutely tracks everything. So I know where my deficiencies are, like, and surprisingly, a
Mhm.
lot of them are in the approach game, and so the wedges. And I don't really make a good effort to practice wedges. I do like you said, I like practicing the short game. One of your countrymen, I bought his book, Dan Grieve. I would
Yes.
love to see him in person and have him like
Oh,
just overhaul my game, but my short
yeah,
game. But
we'll have to act him into this podcast because he's brilliant and he's growing in popularity in the UK as well. He's obviously going worldwide, but his book, the 3 releases,
yeah,
I've got that. That's really, really good. Um, and that has revolutionized mine and my brother's and my dad's chipping actually. And not even to the point of necessarily of actually copying exactly the 3 releases, but just having some awareness of, or how hard are you gripping your wedges? If you want a flop shot, if you want to land it soft,
yep.
are you gripping it tight? Are you gripping it loose? And
Yeah.
you might think it's loose, but how loose? So
Yeah, he says
those little
he's
things.
yeah, he's never told somebody to actually grip the club tighter in his
Yeah, in his
in the
life.
tens of thousands.
Yeah.
He's never gone that in that direction. So I thought that was quite
No,
funny.
there's no
So I
need.
always think about that and loosening up my grip. Oh, yeah, no, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So I've never been to the UK to golf, but it's definitely on my bucket list, and I loved watching the Open. It's the best major for me. Yeah, one of the reasons is I can record it and fast forward through the commercials, but it's really
Yeah.
watching the weather conditions. In Calgary, we suffer from a lot of wind, cold, rain. Sometimes it even snows on the golf course. And me and my mates, we struggle because of the weather. And
Hmm.
in the Open, the same thing happens. And Xander, I thought he had the best attitude when it came to the weather conditions, the draw. He didn't complain about any of it. A lot of the players did. I look at Rory's post-round interview, and I think he triple bogeyed the fourth hole or something on his second round, and he packed it in. He just said he was dreaming about his vacation.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like if he just kind of bared down, made the cut, given the weather conditions on Saturday, he could have been in a position to win this thing. So,
Yeah.
my question to you is how do you deal with, like, what is your thoughts on attitude in rough weather conditions or just having a rough round period?
Yeah. Okay, good question. And yeah, lots of evidence for this. Um, and you touched on it again before we started recording, actually. Um, not to put too fine a point. In my latest episode, there's an element in there about uh, the idea of choice and the idea of challenge. And I think what separates the likes of Xander, as you said, and Sky is that they seem to enjoy the challenge. And this was something that Jordan Spieth used to do, if you remember. It just looked
Mhm.
like when he came out at the Open, he wasn't quite so great this time, but that's golf. A couple of years ago, he would be. It just looked like he was enjoying it, even though it was hard. It looked like he wanted to show off. He wanted to show off his skills. He wanted to show you that he can do different things. He's not just a bomber. He can plot his way around a golf course. He can find those intricate shots. He can be kind of innovative, creative, and let go of it. And I always get that vibe. And this is the first time I've had that vibe from Xander after this. I felt like he was actually enjoying it and like he was thriving in the elements and really going for it, because everyone is in the same boat. And I think what people forget is that when you're all playing on the golf course, I get the idea of the draw, and that at certain parts of the day it was a little bit um, quieter, or it was less wind, it was less rain, and in certain parts of the day it's worse. But everybody is basically playing on the same conditions, and for you to kind of go, oh, it's not fair. I think you know that's the beginning of the end for a lot of players. And I won't say any names. I experienced it today uh, within my group and within other groups. There were one or two who just didn't bother finishing because they just, and the weather wasn't bad today, by the way. The weather's lovely. I might have actually got a bit of a golfer's tan on my arms and my neck. It was a nice day, but they decided that the challenge wasn't fun anymore. They decided that they weren't enjoying it, and they were getting angry. They were getting upset, and so what's the point? And in that moment, I get it, and I'm like, okay, well, you're not enjoying it. I do understand now the idea of just walking away, but I would love to get people to the point where that doesn't come,
Yeah.
where uh, that feeling of I just got to throw this away. This is horrible. I hate it. Doesn't actually get there.
Yeah.
Try to enjoy it. Try to enjoy the challenge is what I'm saying. And I know how hard that is. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
yes. I mean, speaking of that, how do you personally deal with your own game when you're playing with somebody like that that's kind of, just doesn't care anymore, or he's throwing his clubs or swearing? Like, how do you, like, I find that I'll get paired up with random folks that, that do that, and it sort of impacts my game. So do you have any techniques that you use there?
I do, yes. And it is when I'm playing with my friends or my family and stuff, I am a very, very sociable kind of golfer. I love to I love to have fun. I love to have a laugh. I love to crack jokes at the right time. And so does my dad, so does my uncle, so does my brother. So I'm brought up in that kind of vibe. But in a competition mode like today, there'll be a bit of joking between shots. But if I sense someone is upset and is getting there, I'm more than happy and more than able to literally just put up a wall, because I'm in competition. You're not my client. You're my competitor now. So I'm moving physically away. That's the first thing. And I'm at one with my own clubs. I'm at one with the surroundings. I'm looking at the trees. I'm feeling the wind. I'm staying grounded for as much as I can while they're getting upset and angry. And a bit of me is kind of the competitive bit of me is thriving on that a little bit, and I'm okay about that. I don't let it affect me. Um, Funnily enough, it affects me more if it's my friends and we're in a fun game. I get more sucked into their negative energy if it's that. Whereas in a
Uh,
competition, I'm quite easily able just to grab and take and go and put myself somewhere else, physically and emotionally,
uh,
and not get sucked into it.
Oh, okay. No, that's great. That kind of leads in, yeah, into one of my questions about like golf is a grind, especially if you're trying to shoot a good round. It's almost impossible to focus for, 5 hours. So it sounds like you maybe look at the trees, look at the look at the sky, whatever, just to basically disconnect for a while. Is that
But it
safe to
is
say?
exactly that. And I would say that there's also one or two things to remember. It's a good idea to try not to do as well. And that is, I've noticed players grabbing their phones on the course. Um, and so staying in the moment is obviously very, very important. But as you've rightly said, doing that for 5 hours, 4 hours is, I would say, almost impossible. And you can hear it if you go to the Open, or you go to a major or any event really, and you watch the professionals. You can hear them between shots. They'll be talking about cards. They'll be talking about where they're going on holiday. They'll be talking about, did you watch the game last night? Oh yeah, I can't believe they got beat by whoever.
Mhm.
And then they shut up and they get in their zone and they stay focused for that little window, and then they come out of it again.
Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed the exceptional content from Matt Stilwell of the Positive Golf Mindset on part one. I look forward to part two, where we talk more about pre-shot routine, how to deal with anxiety on the golf course, and much more. I would like to really thank Matt for taking the time to be on our show. And as I said, I will include all of his information in the show notes on the podcast as well as on YouTube. So until next time, have a great time on the links.